The night split apart with a scream as Elara watched the man she once loved vanish into the storm, his figure swallowed by shadows. Her trembling hands sparked with violent magic, flames of sorrow tearing through the quiet village. Ash and smoke curled around her as Marcus said, "This curse will destroy you, Elara. Unless you let him go." She whispered, "I can't." The wind howled as if echoing her heartbreak, trees bending to the raw surge of her power. A charm slipped from her wrist, glowing faintly before shattering into shards of light. Across the ruined path, her enemy smirked, feeding on her despair. Old promises clawed back to life, love and fury entwined. Elara's eyes glistened with grief, but her chest burned with defiance. The curse had begun, binding her fate in fire and shadows. Nothing would ever be the same again. The storm quieted, but silence weighed heavier than thunder. Elara stood alone among broken beams and burning embers, her body trembling. Marcus stepped forward, voice steady but eyes full of fear. Marcus said, "Your power will consume everything." Elara shook her head, firelight flickering against her wet hair. "I don't care," she whispered. "He was mine to save." Smoke curled around them, villagers' cries echoing faintly. The curse gnawed at her chest, invisible yet suffocating. She pressed a hand over her heart, breath shallow. The storm had passed, but its scars remained. Between them, the ashes of their world smoldered, and hope seemed as fragile as glass. As dawn broke, a faint figure appeared through the smoke, his steps measured, his gaze sharp. Elara's breath caught, heart torn wide open. Adrian had returned. His dark hair clung to his forehead, his obsidian eyes fixed on her with equal parts longing and regret. "Elara," Adrian said, his voice like thunder softened by sorrow. Marcus stiffened, hand instinctively gripping his sword. Elara's chest constricted, memory colliding with reality. Every wound, every kiss, every betrayal surfaced in that single glance. She whispered his name, voice breaking. The air between them crackled, not with magic, but with love buried too deep to forget. The silence fractured as Adrian stepped closer, his voice carrying years of pain. "I never stopped loving you," he confessed. Elara staggered, torn between fury and desperate longing. Marcus snarled, "You left her to die." Adrian's jaw clenched, his shadow stretching long in the rising sun. Elara's lips trembled as magic surged in her veins, fire dancing in her palms. "I should hate you," she whispered, "but my heart won't let me." The air grew tense, sparks shimmering between them. Marcus's sword scraped against its sheath, his loyalty tested. Fate pressed heavily upon them, love and betrayal colliding like fire and storm. Elara's chest heaved as Marcus stepped between them, his voice steady but strained. "This curse was born the day you broke her heart," he said to Adrian. Adrian's eyes darkened with shame, yet love still burned within them. Elara pressed her hand to her heart, feeling the curse throb with every breath. "If I cannot break it," she whispered, "then it will break me." The air quivered with unseen magic, sparks lifting dust from the ground. For a heartbeat, all three stood in fragile silence, bound by pain and love. The storm might have ended, but the true war had only begun. Morning sunlight spilled weakly across the ruins, but Elara felt no warmth. She pressed her palm to her chest, the curse pulsing like a second heartbeat. Marcus stood nearby, his jaw tight, his eyes searching hers. He said, "You're losing yourself." She turned sharply, her voice trembling. "I have no self left to lose." The words cracked between them like brittle glass. The silence that followed was heavier than stone. Marcus's armor clinked softly as he moved closer, but he dared not touch her. She longed to fall into his certainty, yet the memory of Adrian's eyes haunted her every breath. Shadows whispered in the corners of her mind, reminding her of the cost of love. Later, Marcus sat sharpening his blade by the charred remains of a gate, his face carved with unspoken thoughts. Elara approached, hesitant, her shadow stretching across the scorched earth. "You don't trust me," she said softly. Marcus lifted his gaze, steel meeting emerald. "I trust you more than myself," he admitted, voice low. The words tightened her throat, breaking something fragile inside her. For a moment, she saw him not as a protector, but as a man chained by loyalty. She whispered, "Then why does it feel like you're ready to fight me?" His silence was answer enough. Between them, the fire of unspoken longing burned brighter than the embers at their feet. From the edge of the village, a slow clap echoed, smooth and mocking. The manipulative villain emerged, his cloak dry despite the mud, his obsidian eyes glinting. "How touching," he drawled, his smile sharp as a blade. Elara stiffened, magic crackling faintly at her fingertips. Marcus rose, sword drawn. The villain spread his hands in false peace. "You cling to scraps of love, yet the curse grows with every heartbeat." His words coiled like smoke around her ears, each one cutting deeper. Elara hissed, "You don't know what love is." His smirk widened, voice dripping poison. "No, child, I know exactly what it costs." As night fell, they gathered in the ruins of an old temple, moonlight cutting through the shattered roof. The mentor emerged from the shadows, his silver hair glinting, his staff tapping against stone. "The curse cannot be fought with rage," he warned, his voice low and steady. Elara's breath caught, guilt threading her veins. Marcus bowed his head in respect, but defiance lingered in his posture. The mentor's gaze softened as he placed a hand on Elara's shoulder. "Child, your heart will decide your fate, not your power." Her throat tightened, words failing her. The temple groaned as if echoing the weight of his truth. The night deepened, silence broken only by the hiss of wind. Elara sat on the temple steps, head in her hands, feeling the curse gnaw deeper. Marcus sat beside her, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'll stay even if it kills me." She turned to him, eyes shining, torn between gratitude and despair. "Why?" she asked. He met her gaze, steady as stone. "Because I love you more than my own life." Her breath caught, heart twisting. The words should have soothed her, but instead they weighed heavier. For in her chest, another name burned, another pair of eyes haunted her, and love became the cruelest curse of all. Dark clouds rolled back across the horizon, the air heavy with a weight Elara could feel in her bones. Each step she took left glowing marks on the ground, the curse bleeding into the earth. Marcus watched, fear darkening his eyes. "Your power is growing too fast," he said, voice tight with dread. Elara clenched her fists, whispering, "I don't control it, it controls me." Sparks leapt from her skin, tiny flames crackling in the night air. She sank to her knees, trembling, the earth beneath her shaking with her heartbeat. Marcus reached out, then froze, as if touching her meant burning. Shadows twisted, whispering her name like 1,000 cruel echoes. From the shadows of the broken forest road, a familiar figure emerged, cloaked in grief and menace. Adrian's eyes glistened, obsidian flames flickering within them. Elara staggered back, memories colliding with the man before her. He whispered, "You still haunt me." Marcus stepped forward, sword raised. Adrian's lips curved in a pained smile. "And yet you guard her as if she isn't already cursed." Elara's chest tightened, torn between love's echo and betrayal's sting. Her voice cracked, "Why return now?" Adrian's silence carried more truth than words. His presence was a wound reopened, bleeding old love into new pain. The air burned with tension as Adrian stepped closer, his voice low, aching. "We were bound once by love, Elara. You cannot deny what still lingers." Her chest heaved, magic flickering across her skin, betraying her. Marcus snarled, "Love dies with betrayal." Adrian's gaze never left hers, his words, a dagger dipped in longing. "But not all of me chose betrayal." Elara's throat tightened, her body trembling as memories of stolen kisses and whispered promises clawed at her. She whispered, "Your poison." His lips curved bitterly. "Then drink, or let me consume you whole." Between them, desire and danger tangled in a cruel knot. A flicker of movement cut through the standoff. The shapeshifter appeared, their forms sliding from one face to another until settling into a familiar disguise, Marcus's own face. Elara gasped, stepping back, heart racing. The real Marcus raised his blade, fury igniting in his eyes. The impostor smirked, voice mocking. "Which of us do you truly trust, Elara?" Her pulse thundered in her ears, emerald eyes darting between them. The true Marcus shouted, "He lies!" But the mimic's smile was dripping with venomous charm. Shadows bent unnaturally around the shapeshifter, feeding doubt into her already fractured heart. The chaos froze as a sudden laugh broke the night. From the sidekick stumbled forward, clutching a dagger too large for his grip. His grin was shaky, but his voice steady. "I may not know magic or curses," he said, "but I know who bleeds when cut." His humor cracked the suffocating tension. Elara's lips twitched into the faintest smile, though her eyes still shimmered with tears. Marcus's jaw softened, pride glinting in his eyes for the ally who never walked away. The shapeshifter tilted his head, annoyed, while Adrian's gaze darkened. For one fleeting moment, the weight of despair lifted, replaced by fragile courage. The storm returned, rolling black clouds over the horizon as if the sky itself mourned. Elara stood at the edge of the temple ruins, hair whipping around her face, eyes glowing. Marcus gripped her wrist firmly, his voice steady but strained. "You must choose, Elara. Love cannot survive lies." She pulled free, trembling. "I don't know what survives anymore." Adrian's shadow lingered nearby, his stare piercing like a blade. The curse throbbed harder, threads of fire and shadow dancing beneath her skin. Every heartbeat threatened to break her apart. Her lips parted, words escaping like a confession. "If love demands sacrifice, then which of you must fall?" The manipulative villain's voice slithered from the shadows, smooth as silk. "Your curse is my gift, Elara. Without it, you are nothing." He stepped into view, cloak billowing though the air was still. Marcus raised his sword, fury sparking in his eyes. Adrian sneered but said nothing, his silence louder than words. Elara's fists trembled, fire bleeding through her skin. "You fed this curse," she spat. The villain chuckled, teeth flashing. "No, my dear, you birthed it yourself, through love you could not control." Her breath caught, chest burning, truth and lies tangled into one suffocating snare. In the flicker of torchlight, the mentor stepped forward, his silver hair shining like threads of moonlight. "Enough," he commanded, voice thunderous. He planted his staff into the ground, a shockwave pulsing outward, scattering shadows. Elara gasped, the weight of his magic pressing against her chest. Marcus steadied her, but his gaze remained locked on the enemy. The villain's smirk faltered, though his eyes glittered with rage. "You are old, guide," he hissed. "Your time has passed." The mentor's hand shook, but his voice never wavered. "My time ends when hers begins." His eyes softened toward Elara, resignation hidden in their depths. Later, in the shattered courtyard, Marcus stood alone, rain dripping from his armor. Adrian approached, eyes sharp. "You protect her as if she were yours," Adrian said bitterly. Marcus's jaw tightened. "I protect her because she matters more than myself." Adrian stepped closer, face inches from his. "Or because you fear she'll choose me." For a heartbeat, silence stretched, heavy and sharp. Marcus sheathed his sword, his voice low. "If she chooses you, I will still guard her. But you, will you guard her from yourself?" Adrian's silence was answer enough, his obsidian gaze flickering with torment. Within the temple, Elara sat alone, her hands trembling as sparks danced across her skin. The curse pulsed harder, louder, each heartbeat echoing in her ears. The shapeshifter stepped from the shadows, their voice soft, honeyed. "He cannot love you as I do." Elara's breath caught, emerald eyes narrowing. The figure's shape shimmered, flickering between Marcus, Adrian, and even her own reflection. "Stop," she whispered, voice breaking. You are nothing. The shapeshifter's grin widened, cruel and knowing. And yet, I am everyone you trust. She pressed her fists to her chest, choking back a sob, torn between love and deceit. The night air trembled as the truth unraveled. The mentor's voice echoed through the ruined temple, heavy with sorrow. The curse was never placed upon you, Elara. It was born of your love, forged by your heart's refusal to let go. Elara's chest seized, her breath sharp. Sparks danced wildly around her, pulsing like veins of fire. Marcus's eyes widened, his grip tightening on his sword. She's dying because of love? He whispered. Adrian's face twisted, shame etching every line. Elara fell to her knees, clutching her chest as the curse surged. Then I am both its victim and its creator, she gasped. Adrian stepped forward, his obsidian eyes dark but glistening with pain. It should have been me. I should have borne the curse, he whispered, voice breaking. Elara looked up, fury and longing clashing in her gaze. You abandoned me when I needed you, she cried, her voice cutting through the temple. Adrian flinched as if struck. Marcus's hand hovered at his sword, jaw clenched. Your words won't heal her, Marcus growled. Adrian shook his head, his voice trembling. No, but my confession might. He fell to his knees before Elara, whispering, I never stopped loving you, even when I betrayed you. From the shadows the shapeshifter laughed, their form melting into a woman's shape, then Adrian's again. So much pain for so little truth, they sneered. Marcus stepped forward, fury burning in his eyes. Reveal your allegiance. The shapeshifter smirked, their features flickering until they settled into the villain's face, then back again. I serve only chaos, they hissed. And chaos serves me. Elara's head spun, her curse flaring with the lie and truth tangled in their words. The mentor struck his staff into the ground, but the shapeshifter slipped back, body dissolving into shadow. Trust no one, Elara, their voice echoed. Elara stumbled back, the curse burning brighter, veins of fire across her arms. Marcus caught her before she fell, his voice desperate. Fight it, Elara. You are stronger than this. She shook her head, tears streaking her cheeks. It's too strong. I am breaking. Adrian surged forward, gripping her other hand, his voice raw. Then let me share it. Let me carry what I should have carried years ago. Elara's gaze darted between them, love and rage tearing her apart. Both of you cannot save me, she whispered. Her voice was soft, but her words struck like thunder. The air quaked as the villain stepped into the center, his smile cruel. How beautiful, a heart divided in two, bleeding itself dry. His cloak billowed, shadows crawling at his feet. Marcus raised his sword, voice steady. You'll never have her. Adrian's fists clenched, fire sparking in his eyes. The villain tilted his head, amused. I already do. Her curse belongs to me. Elara's scream tore through the hall, her magic exploding outward, fire and shadows spiraling around her. The temple shook, stone cracking. This is my fate, she cried, emerald eyes blazing. But I will decide how it ends. The night split open with fire as the battle began. Elara stood at the heart of the collapsing temple, her body trembling, curse raging like a storm. Marcus charged forward, sword gleaming in the firelight, striking against the villain's shadow-forged blade. Sparks exploded into the air, echoing like thunder. Adrian rushed to Elara's side, obsidian eyes burning, whispering, "Stay with me." She screamed as the curse flared, magic surging out of her body and striking the walls. Stones cracked and fell around them. The villain laughed, his voice echoing with cruelty. "Your love destroys more than I ever could." The walls shook as the villain unleashed a wave of shadows, swallowing the hall in darkness. Marcus's sword gleamed faintly, cutting arcs of silver against the void. Adrian pulled Elara close, shielding her as fragments of stone rained down. She pressed her hands against his chest, whispering, "I cannot hold it back." He tightened his grip, voice rough. Then let it out. I'll carry the ruin with you. Marcus roared, striking hard, the clash of steel against shadow ringing like bells of war. The curse inside Elara pulsed, begging to be unleashed. She screamed, torn between control and surrender. The hall exploded in fire and shadow as Elara's power broke free, scorching the air with blinding heat. The villain staggered but grinned, feeding on her fury. Marcus shielded his face, calling out, "Elara, fight it, fight for yourself." Adrian's voice joined, desperate. "Fight for us." Her chest burned as her body lifted from the ground, glowing veins spreading across her skin. Her scream shook the night, a sound of love and torment bound as one. The curse surged higher, threatening to consume all. The shapeshifter appeared briefly at the edge of the chaos, watching with a twisted smile. The villain lunged, blade of shadows aiming for Elara's heart. Marcus intercepted their swords, clashing with a roar, sparks raining. Adrian threw himself into the fray, fists burning with stolen fire, striking the villain's side. For a moment, the three collided in chaos, light against shadow. Elara fell to her knees, clutching her chest, whispering, "I must end this myself." The mentor's voice echoed from beyond, though his body was gone. "Your heart is your greatest weapon." Tears streamed down her face. She raised her hands, emerald light burning brighter than fire, preparing to make the choice that would end everything. The storm reached its breaking point. Elara stood, body glowing like a living flame, curse burning her veins raw. Marcus and Adrian fought at her sides, but she knew only she could end it. She stepped forward, voice strong despite the pain. "This curse was born from love, and love will be its end." The villain snarled, shadows writhing like serpents. She spread her arms wide, letting the curse consume her, emerald fire blazing from her body. The temple collapsed as her magic exploded, swallowing fire, shadow, and screams into a single blinding light. In that instant, love became destruction and sacrifice. The light faded, leaving silence in its wake. The temple lay in ruins, stones smoldering, shadows dissolved. Elara's body collapsed onto the broken ground, her chest rising faintly with shallow breaths. Marcus staggered toward her, armor cracked, blood seeping from his side. He whispered her name as if it might tether her to life. Adrian knelt opposite him, obsidian eyes wet, his hands trembling as he brushed her hair from her face. "She's still here," he said, his voice breaking. The air reeked of ash, but above them the stars broke through the clouds, shining like fragile hope. Marcus pressed his hand to Elara's chest, feeling the faint thrum of her heart. "She gave everything," he whispered, his voice raw. Adrian bowed his head, his body trembling. "She carried the curse so we wouldn't have to." Tears fell onto the broken ground, lost among the ashen blood. Elara stirred, her lips parting, her voice weaker than a whisper. "I am still bound." Marcus's hand tightened, his eyes desperate. "Then we will break what's left together." Adrian's jaw clenched, his shame and love warring. The stars above flickered faintly, as if waiting for her choice. The survivors gathered in silence as dawn crept over the horizon. The sidekick limped forward, clutching his oversized dagger, face pale but smiling weakly. "She did it," he said, his voice wavering with awe. Marcus rose slowly, lifting Elara in his arms, her head resting against his shoulder. Adrian followed, his cloak dragging, his gaze fixed on the woman he could not save nor fully lose. The mentor's staff lay broken among the stones, a reminder of sacrifice. The world was not healed, but the curse's grip had loosened. And yet, a hollow ache lingered, as though love itself had fractured. On a hillside beyond the ruins, Marcus laid Elara gently upon the grass. Her eyes fluttered open, tears glistening. "Did we win?" she whispered. Marcus's voice cracked. "You survived. That's enough." Adrian stood a step away, torn between leaving and staying. His gaze softened, And for once he did not hide his heart. "You are more than the curse, Elara," he said. She turned her head, meeting his eyes, grief and love burning within her. The silence stretched, unspoken words hanging heavy. Her hand reached weakly toward the sky, as though seeking the stars to write what her lips could not. The wind whispered across the hilltop, as the first rays of sun painted the sky in gold and crimson. Elara sat weakly, Marcus at her side, Adrian standing behind her, silent but unyielding. She whispered, "Love is both curse and salvation." Her voice trembled, but her emerald eyes shone with defiance. Marcus's hand clasped hers, steady and loyal. Adrian turned his face to the rising sun, grief etched across him, yet a spark of hope lingering. The world lay broken, but their bond endured, fragile and fierce. As the sun rose higher, Elara whispered, "This is not the end." And the horizon answered in silence.